A batch of artillery rounds destined for the Ukrainian battlefield twists and turns its way down a serpentine production line in northeastern Pennsylvania. Here, inside a series of red brick buildings where steam locomotives were repaired a century ago, teams of workers toil round the clock to ensure the industrial grinders, lathes, and furnaces don't stop rumbling. Everything is very large. It's very complex, a lot of moving parts, tremendous amounts of heat, says Richard Hansen, who oversees manufacturing operations at the Scranton Army Ammunition Plant. You have to continually keep it running, and it's important for us to do that because we're making ammunition. The 155mm shells, which are fired from howitzers several miles from their targets, are critical to the Ukrainian military's nearly year-long defense against the Russian invasion. Thousands of the unguided projectiles are fired each day in the conflict, a consumption rate that and Ukrainian officials compare to World War I, draining existing army stockpiles. The Biden administration has already given Ukraine more than 1 million 155mm shells, with hundreds of miles of contested front lines. The Ukrainian military depends on firing the rounds from about 300 155mm howitzers to repel Russian positions. With no end to the fighting in sight, the Army plans to boost its current production rate of around 14,000 155mm howitzer shells per month to 20,000 by this spring and as many as 90,000 by 2025, spending $1.09 billion this year alone in the process. The Scranton plant, which is contracted to crank out 11,040 shells per month, finds itself at the center of the Army's planned industrial transformation. Roughly 300 employees work across the 15-acre complex, where hulking machinery cuts, melts, reshapes and refines 2,000-pound steel rods into sleek, 2-foot-tall projectiles. The plant is owned by the Army but is operated by General Dynamics Corp. Ordnance unit and currently runs 24 hours a day, 5 days a week with a weekend shift. Each day, trucks deliver 20-foot-long steel rods weighing 2,000 pounds to the factory. The rods are left outside where a massive magnet hoists them into a red brick building known as the forge shop, where robotic saws slice the rods into foot-long chunks called billets. The metal arms snatch each billet with smooth efficiency and move them to 3 individual stations. Over a 90-second period, the billet is pierced, stretched, and pressed into 3-foot lengths against extreme heat. This happens hundreds of times each day. Speed is key, Hansen says, watching the process. In the last stage, a robotic arm grasps the billet and places it over a round door where it's neatly pushed into an underground conveyor system called the subway. Each billet, still scorching hot, falls onto a gravity rolling line. Don't touch it, Hansen says. It won't just burn your hand. It will take it off bone and everything. The billets are collected by hand and claws that carry them one by one around a large empty room along a track for hours. Later, each billet is inspected to ensure its shape and consistency are up to specifications so it can become a projectile. The last building is a 60-foot-tall warehouse the size of a city block. Exterior light streams in from the windows, which were installed before the widespread availability of indoor lighting. A successive series of machines gradually shave 30 pounds of excess metal from the ribbed, dark gray billets until they emerge as polished shells with tapered noses. We work in specifications that are thousandths of an inch, Hansen says. Essentially, we're taking a tube and turning it into a projectile.